Yo, what's up guys? So today I wanted to kind of go over, I guess, my ban list prediction. It's gonna be less of a wish list because there's a lot of cards I wish would get banned, but today I kind of want to focus on what I think would be more likely to get hit, or unlimited, or all that good stuff. Let's kind of like talk about it. Shout out to my Twitch chat, twitch.tv/PackTZG, if you guys haven't already checked that out, for helping me come up with some of these ideas. By the way guys, if you guys are enjoying the video, don't forget to go to txswim.com and use pack10 for 10% off the Supreme Pro store. Okay, you can get some really sick playmats that it's limited release, as well as some fire sleeves. Okay, but let's talk first about the forbidden list. I think Jet Synchron is one of those cards that is probably gonna get banned. It's been banned before and it might get banned again. It's just like one of those cards that is constantly getting hit for the sins of other cards, mainly because I think they're gonna keep original around, because I think they want the fire cards to be used as a supplementary engine for, like, for fire archetypes, whereas I don't think they intended the deck to be like a pure deck. So I think they're actually gonna hit Jet Synchron. It enabled some really sick synchro plays and really made the board have Omni Negates, and I think at the rate of the game that we're headed in, they want less Omni Negates to be out on the field. So I want to say Jet Synchron is gonna get banned. The next card on the forbidden list is gonna be Sanctifier. I don't think they should hit this card, but I think they will, just because it's a way to hit branded. My thoughts were for branded that they either touch brand diffusion or they touch Sanctifier, and I think when you look at like the root cause of like why like the branded engine is so problematic, I think Sanctifier is one of those reasons, especially from a floodgate perspective. But I do think that like if they hit Sanctifier, the deck is still very playable. It's still very broken. I think it's gonna probably be on the hit. Next is gonna be Calamities. You don't really see like Centurion doing that much. Calamity is one of those things that will probably be hit just to like put an end to the tyranny, because I feel like this is a card that like randomly comes in and out of formats. Like people just be randomly making this, so I just put it here just because I feel like they've been on the trend of hitting floodgates. They banned Scythe not too long ago, so I feel like they're on the trend of like trying to ban more floods, limit more floods. So I think Calamity is gonna be on the chopping block as a result of that. And I think like Centurion, when you're not Calamity locking your opponent, can be a pretty cool mid-range strategy. So I think this will be like a good solid hit. Obviously we're in the year of the fire, so when we go to the limited section, you'll see that we have cards like, I think Snake Eye Ash will go to 1, but I don't think Bonfire, Wanted, Dealer Star, or Original will get hit at all. And the main reason for this is that I think they want you to play like those fire cards as an engine. Like they want you to like basically utilize them to turbo out into, I don't know, like Decatrons, or like they want you to turbo out into like the Ponixes. I think they want you to like turbo out into Hydrants or anything along those lines. So I think they'll actually hit Snake Eye Ash, but I think they'll keep all the other cards kind of like full power. But like they'll probably address some Fire King cards in some way. Like for example, they'll make like Kieran to 1. Another card I thought about was like another Dragon Ruler. I feel like they just randomly do this, so I put this on the prediction because they randomly be putting random Dragon Rulers to 1 every list. So I think Title to 1 is like probably something that could easily happen. Obviously the original, like the Magic Spectre Kieran, I thought this card was gonna actually be on the latest ban list, like move to 1. I think they might use the time now to finally put it to 1, just so that like Magic Spectres can be like a playable strategy. Heavy Storm, I think they're on the trend of more back removal. You start seeing this in OCG as well, where like they put heavy to 1, and they started like unlimiting a lot of like really old cards. Like Change of Heart went to 1, Duster went to 1. I figured Storm is logically like the next card to be at 1, so I think heavy will be moving up. Kind of cool actually, because I think heavy to 1 could make Unchained a little bit more consistent. Funny enough, I think that'll be kind of interesting. Prosperity to 1, I think this is a card that like I'm not sure if it will necessarily be a thing. This is definitely more of a wish list. But I feel like Pot is just like a insane card. It's played in Kashtira, it's played in Lab, it's played in like Rescue Ace. It's just a card that like, it's just so powerful. Like be able to see the top 6 cards of your deck. Technically the top 12, right? When you go second, because you draw 6 cards and you activate Pot to see top 6. So like technically the top 12 cards of your deck. It's just like, in my opinion, too powerful. It's just too unbroken. So I'll put it to 1. Runic Fountain, I think that like, we saw in the last ban list that like Runic didn't get hit at all. I think it's finally time where they maybe like address some of the Runic cards, whether it's going to be Fountain, whether it's going to be Tip. I'm not sure which. But I think Fountain going to 1 could be kind of nice because it makes like the Runic stun deck a lot worse. the argument of like, oh, what if you just ban more floodgates? But they'll just find more other floodgates, I guess. Like, I think right now, like, I think Fountain of One seems like a way to like hit other ruining strategies, as well as like I think it was like overdue. Like, it was gonna happen sooner or later. Some limit anti-spell are like kind of like the flood of choice for a lot of like modern strategies. I feel like right now we're at a point in the game where everyone will side floodgates when they go first. It just seems to be the trajectory of like Yu-Gi-Oh. From their perspective, they don't want this to be a common theme. That's why they put rivalry to 1. There can only be to 1. All those other floods to 1. So I think like the next floods on the chopping block are gonna be like Some Limit and Anti-Spell, because they were the most played flood at like YSS Costa Rica and YSS Vegas, as well as YSS Sydney. So Some Limit may be more likely than Anti. I do think those cards will go. Super Poly to 2. I know this seems like a random hit, but I think like they'll realize that Super Poly is like a really insane board breaker. They might move it to 2 just because of the fact that like Yubel's coming out with like more support. Super Poly just in general like a really solid breaker all around, and the fact that it can't be responded to is like no surprise and like a no-brainer that it's like an absurd card. It makes like the Despia deck slightly worse because I know they played Super Poly as well, and it makes it so that people just, you know, like it's a really good breaker to hit pretty much, because I think every version of like breakers will always include Super Poly pretty much. There's so many targets right now in the game. Terra Top to 3. I think for Goblin Riders it might just come back to 3. Maybe for like Virtual World it might go to 3, and they moved it to 2 in the last list, so like I don't see why it wouldn't go to 3 in like this current list. Pank to 3. I saw that they moved Pank to 2. It still wasn't really doing that much, so I think they might continue with the trend from the last list to now, which is to move Pank up another section and then just, you know, put it in unlimited. Shifter is a card that I still have at 3. I know a lot of people want Shifter to be hit, but like realistically I don't think they're gonna touch it. Like, Shifter is a card that like Konami doesn't really want to hit. Like, it's been a problem for other formats as well. It's not the first format that Shifter has been an issue, so I don't see why they would choose to hit it now rather than like not before, right? So I think Shifter is still gonna be an issue. Another good card to talk about that I put in unlimited is Flamber's Dragon. I thought this was a card that if I had a wish list, I would put Flamber's Dragon in the ban section, but I don't think they'll hit it. But I think Flamber's Dragon is a card that you can argue for to be forbidden just because of how crazy it is. It's like a boss monster, an extender, it's an interruption. It's like kind of like everything you look for in a card, and it doesn't even suck to draw because like you can like pitch it off Name of Phoenix, for example, right? So Brand Diffusion was a card that I have at 3. I think when you have to decide between Sanctifier or Brand Diffusion getting hit, Brand Diffusion being at 3 is like honestly something that they'll probably be more likely to keep, just so that they make Branded still like a very, very strong deck. And limiting Sanctifier doesn't, like, if you just do the regular Branded combos and you end on like triple Mirror Jade with like Guardian Chimera and like all that stuff, you know, it's still like 5, 6, 7 interruptions, and a lot of decks can't even beat Mirror Jade. So I think Brand Diffusion to 3 will probably be still a thing. Engage to 3. I mean, we saw Engage go to 2. Engage to 3, especially with the new Stride Striker support coming out, could honestly be a realistic thing. They're printing out Engaged QCRs and all that good stuff. So I actually think that like Engage to 3 is something that if it pops up on the next list, I wouldn't be surprised. I would actually be very like super not shocked at all. So I put 1 to the original Snake Eye Field Spell all at 3 because I think that the whole intention of like, if you look at the new cards that are coming out, they're printing out Snake Eyes Diablo Star. I think there's a new Witch coming out. It's very clear that they're gonna be coming out with like new ways to like utilize the Diablo Star engine, and it's gonna be a mainstay staple in the metagame. I don't think they're gonna hit those cards at all. I personally want it to be at 1, but I don't think they'll do it, weirdly enough. The Voices cards are next, like Low, School Guardian, Saphira. I think this deck is kind of like the Alistair of the format. It's kind of like the Invoke strategy like back in the day, and it will always be one of those decks that you can always go back to, kind of like Sword Soul, you know, like it's one of those decks you just like, you know, reference back. I don't think they'll ever touch Voices Voice because I don't think Voices Voice is ever quote unquote the best deck. It's just a good deck, but I don't think it'll ever be the best deck. It's just good. It's just solid, and that's kind of like where I think Voices Voice kind of stands in the meta. So I would expect it to kind of be still full power. Let me know your thoughts on the prediction, if you guys agree or disagree. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks, guys.